You can have the best gun in the world and still fail if your ammo betrays you. One lousy bullet choice can turn a life-saving moment into a legal or safety nightmare. Do you trust every fancy label that claims to be the ultimate man-stopper? In this video, we'll talk about the ammo types you should avoid for self-defense and why. I'm not telling you to be paranoid, but there's a significant difference between plinking ammo and what you might count on to protect your home. Hollow points are widely accepted as the go-to choice, though many folks ignore that and end up with surplus, exotic, or generally poor-performing loads. Those choices can create more trouble than they're worth, whether in the courtroom or on the streets. Some of these rounds look cheap, which tempts people who only see the price tag. Others are packed with marketing claims that don't hold up under real testing. The bottom line is that not all bullets are designed to stop threats quickly while reducing risks to bystanders. Hopefully, by the time we reach the end of this list, you'll know exactly which ones to steer clear of. This matters too much to leave it to luck, so let's dive right in and keep you from making a potentially dangerous mistake. Full metal jacket, also known as ball ammo, is everywhere. It's usually inexpensive and feeds reliably, which makes it fantastic for training. The main disadvantage is that it doesn't expand, and that's where the problems start. Overpenetration becomes a serious concern because these rounds can go straight through a target and still have enough velocity left to hurt someone or something behind it. There's a reason the military is bound to use FMJ. It fulfills international rules on ammunition, but those rules don't apply to you as a civilian trying to protect your family. A homeowner who's defending against an intruder in a hallway can't risk a shot piercing every wall in the house. Some say that bigger calibers like .45 ACP are less likely to need expansion, but any .45 ACP ball round can still pass right through flesh and drywall. It's not about how wide the bullet starts, but how it transfers energy inside the attacker. Training with FMJ is great. Relying on it for self-defense invites tragedy if it keeps traveling after it exits the threat. Hollow points and other expanding designs prevent that risk by increasing in diameter and slowing down upon impact. Ball ammo is best left for practice, not personal defense, no matter the caliber. Surplus military ammo appears in big crates at gun shows or online vendors, typically with a tempting price tag. Much of it is aging stock meant for armies decades ago. These rounds are usually FMJs, only a bit worse than civilian FMJs as they can be corrosive depending on their origin. That means your firearm's barrel could suffer if you're not meticulous with cleaning. Because these are FMJs, overpenetration is a concern. Reliability may be acceptable, but ballistic performance in civilian self-defense is seldom on par with modern commercial defensive rounds. Surplus was produced in bulk with battlefield logistics in mind, not bedroom hallways or parking lot confrontations. There's a legal aspect too. A prosecutor could point out that you chose older, potentially more dangerous ammo when quality hollow points are widely available. Surplus can be great for range training if you're comfortable with potential hang-ups like hard primers. At home, you don't want the risk of an inconsistent burn rate or questionable storage history. If a round is from the 1970s and has been passed around in warehouses, there's no guarantee it'll behave the same way each time. Surplus ammo also typically comes in foreign calibers or steel cases. When your life is on the line, that's a gamble. Leave the older wartime relics for the range and choose modern, thoroughly tested defensive loads for serious situations. Expanding FMJ tries to act like a full metal jacket with a bit of expansion thrown in, but it winds up doing both tasks poorly. The concept is that it feeds as smoothly as a typical FMJ while still mushrooming to some degree on impact. Actual results can vary wildly. Sometimes these bullets fail to expand at all, turning into straight ball ammo with that same overpenetration hazard. Other times they peel open in strange ways, creating unpredictable wound paths that might not reach critical organs. Some turn to expanding FMJ if their guns don't handle hollow points well. That's not a strong enough reason to rely on an unproven design in a life-and-death scenario. Any defensive ammo should pass rigorous testing against barriers like heavy clothing or even simple drywall to see if it expands in a consistent manner. If an expanding FMJ load gets clogged with fabric, it may behave just like a typical ball round. These are known to underpenetrate, which isn't what you want when everything depends on how a round performs under stress. Hollow points from trusted manufacturers have decades of research and real-world data supporting them. If your pistol struggles with those, address the feeding issue or pick a different brand. Leaning on a compromised round risks failing to expand or failing to penetrate properly, leaving you stuck with the worst of both worlds. G2 Research's RIP ammo got attention due to its unique look and provocative name. Each round has a fancy segmented bullet meant to fragment into multiple shards. The result looks nasty in product photos, leading some to believe it's the ultimate man-stopper. Gel tests and real-world evaluations paint a different picture. Those fragments are known to spread too early and don't dig deep enough to reach vital organs, which is necessary for stopping an aggressive assailant. Without sufficient penetration, all that fancy fragmentation may not matter. Another issue is how a prosecutor could frame your ammo choice in court. If a box proclaims it's radically invasive projectile, which is what RIP stands for, that might sound malicious or reckless. Even if your shooting was fully justified, the last thing you need is your ammo's label causing jurors to question your motives. RIP also tends to be expensive, and some handguns struggle to feed these odd shapes reliably. The question is whether it outperforms established hollow points like gold dots, HST, or other proven designs. The consensus among those who test ammunition is that it doesn't. A bullet that stops shallow won't quickly shut down a threat, leaving room for further violence. That's not a gamble anyone should take. If you want maximum reliability and adequate penetration, proven JHP rounds are a wiser choice. Tracers light up in flight, which looks amazing in nighttime footage, but that's where their usefulness often ends in civilian life. They're intended to show a shooter the bullet's path in certain tactical or training scenarios. This doesn't translate well to home defense or public settings. There's a major fire hazard if a tracer round ignites anything flammable, and that risk escalates indoors. Incendiary rounds can spark on contact, posing similar dangers to you, your property, and anyone nearby. Both types might also be limited or outright banned where you live, adding potential legal complications. If you ever had to justify using them in a defensive shooting, you can bet that people will ask why you loaded such specialized high-risk ammo. The light show these rounds create can give away your position in a low-light setting, which might put you at a tactical disadvantage. They can cost more than standard training rounds, and they're not delivering improved terminal performance that's worth the hassle. Most of the time, tracers and incendiary loads appeal to folks who enjoy novelty items or who have a very specific training need. That's fine at the range if it's permitted, but not in your carry gun or next to your nightstand. Self-defense is complicated enough without worrying that your round might set your drywall on fire. Snake shot and rat shot are short-range solutions intended for very small pests. They're loaded with tiny pellets that disperse fast and lose momentum quickly, which works fine against a snake slithering in your garden at a few feet. In a defensive situation against a human attacker, they fall flat. Those pellets may barely pierce a winter jacket, let alone reach vital structures. A defensive firearm round should be able to penetrate deeply enough to disrupt an attack, and snake shot simply wasn't made for that. Some people grab it thinking it's a way to avoid over-penetration, but what they get is grossly insufficient performance. Faced with a determined criminal, these shot shells could do little more than aggravate the situation. Even a headshot at close range can be questionable if the pellets disperse or fail to penetrate the skull. There's also the angle of how it might look if someone found out you loaded your carry or home defense gun with actual pest control ammo. That raises questions about your preparedness and your grasp of self-defense fundamentals. If recoil or muzzle blast are concerns, there are plenty of reduced recoil defensive loads that still function as intended. Snake shot has its place, but only when dealing with pests. For real threats, it's not a serious option. Steel core or armor-piercing ammo is designed to cut through harder barriers, but civilian self-defense usually involves unarmored aggressors, making these rounds ineffective. Instead of dumping energy into the target like a good hollow point does, it usually zips right through, leaving small holes going in and out and still packing more than enough punch to hit whatever's behind them. Not exactly ideal when you're trying to stop a threat without putting others at risk. Some are restricted by law, depending on the state and the specific bullet construction, because regulators see them as unnecessary and dangerous for everyday scenarios. If you ever discharged an armor-piercing round in a neighborhood or apartment building, it might travel much farther than you expect, tearing through multiple walls. Prosecutors could argue you chose rounds intended to penetrate body armor, implying you were anticipating a more extreme confrontation. That could paint you in a negative light, even if the shooting itself was justified. People sometimes buy these rounds for a sense of security or to be prepared for anything, but it's a misguided approach. Typical hollow points will do the job against a violent assailant without endangering everyone behind them. A major part of self-defense is risk management, and steel core or armor-piercing ammo can introduce serious liability issues. If the intruder you shoot isn't wearing armor, that energy goes somewhere. Pick a well-tested defensive round that's designed to expand and then stop in the target, not pierce Kevlar and keep going another block. You've probably heard of the Taurus Judge or the Smith & Wesson Governor. These revolvers attract attention because they promise the versatility of shotgun-like 410 loads and 45 Colt in one platform. That concept might look great on paper, but real-world performance tells a different story. When you fire 410 buckshot through a short revolver barrel, the spread can be huge, making it easy to miss vital areas, even at close range. Penetration of those small pellets can be underwhelming. Some ammo manufacturers market specialized 410 defensive loads, but ammo tests have consistently shown these loads struggle to meet consistent penetration standards. The slug versions suffer from limited velocity, resulting in weaker terminal effects than a dedicated handgun caliber. These revolvers also tend to be large and heavy, which can impact how quickly you can bring them on target. If you're looking for a compact gun with shotgun-like impact, that isn't a realistic goal. A real shotgun in 12 or 20 gauge outperforms a 410 revolver by a long shot. A normal revolver or semi-auto chambered in 9mm, 357 Magnum, or 45 ACP is usually more effective than the compromise you get from a 410 wheel gun. Many folks buy these for novelty or out of the notion that multiple pellets will increase hit probability. The truth is that a good hollow point in a standard handgun caliber will typically deliver more reliable stopping power, better accuracy, and fewer ballistic compromises. If you have a Taurus Judge or a Smith & Wesson Governor, don't bother with 410 shot shells. Just load it with the best 45 long Colt loads you can find. You can thank me later. And those are all the ammo you should never rely on for self-defense. The stakes are high when you're protecting yourself or your family. A wise approach is to pick reliable, well-tested defensive loads manufactured by reputable companies. If you really want peace of mind, it's worth putting in the time and a few extra bucks to test out some solid hollow points or any modern defensive round with a proven track record. Personally, I'm a fan of Underwood's Extreme Defender. It gets the job done without even needing to expand, and even the FBI agrees. If you'd like us to do a deep dive on these so-called fluted bullets, let us know in the comments. But what about you? Got a go-to brand or bullet type you trust? Sound off in the comments as well. We all want to know what everyone's running. And hey, if you enjoyed the video, give it a like, share it with your buddies, hit subscribe, and tap that little bell so you don't miss the next one. Appreciate you watching.